both of you left Iran before the revolution. Could you share with us what was Iran like before the revolution, and did you ever go back after that? Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, I go and then you fill the gaps. All right. So after 1968 for me, and also for Christine.
You can keep having your coffee.
Thank you so much. After 1968, I did go almost, not every year, but almost every year. Sometimes due to work at the university or exams, I couldn't go. But I went for something like a week or two, always to visit my mother who continued to live in Iran. Okay. So the contact was there until the last visit, which was in 1977. The Shah was still there, but you could feel the beginnings of the revolution. Now, what was happening? Iran was going through a major transformation. We know that the Shah, he was modern, and he wanted to make Iran a very, very modern country. So he introduced reforms, which were called White Revolution. The White Revolution, which included something like equality of men and women, rights, the rights for the people, universal education. Actually, even the soldiers, as part of their military service, they were sent to villages to work on literacy programs. And they were modern and modernizing industry, building roads, infrastructure, etc. The whole thing was also accelerated after 1974 with the increase with the first oil shock that came, that, you know, the revenues of the country multiplied, exploded. So the country was in full revolution. Evolution. Before it became into a revolution. However, it is true that there were the country was developing with different speeds. There was one part of society which was modernizing very, very rapidly. And they were also accepting Western norms, like freedoms, like, I don't know, what may be very normal here, like dressing, singing, partying, and those kind of things. But there was also a large majority of the population that were rural mainly. They were much more conservative, and they were still under the shock of this transformation. So these tensions were there. Plus, with the huge amount of oil revenue which came into the country, inflation skyrocketed. And inflation usually hurts the lower strata of the society much more than the other ones. True. So those who were more rural, who were, let's say, less modern, who did not have access to that development, they felt totally left behind. So the germs of the revolution started growing in the late 60s and during the 70s. And the rest of it is history. You had to have a figurehead like Ayatollah Khomeini, who managed to coalesce all the forces together. And it is true, the last time we visited Iran in 1977, you could feel unrest. Now, not only in the lower strata of the society, but also some of the more reformed or modern parts of society who wanted even more freedoms, who wanted more opportunities. And it is true, because this is history, there was also rampant corruption. Nothing could be done, nothing of real meaning could happen if there were not some relations with the court and with the members of the family and relations, etc. But this we know from other countries as well. So then you had some of the people who were very, very educated, who could not have access to these relations. So there was a true, when the revolution happened, it was a really popular revolution. And people wanted that. And there was, perhaps that was one of the few times or last time that there was a democratic consultation of the population. There was a referendum with Ayatollah Khomeini, and I think something like 97% of the population they voted for the abolition of the monarchy. So this was not forced. At least this one referendum was a very democratic referendum. But once it was done, what happened after that was really not democratic, because then power was concentrated in the hands of a few, and all opposition was systematically eliminated and taken away from those. But it was, excuse me if I speak too long, but it is, in a sense, sometimes I feel lucky to have lived through that, because it's not, you don't read it in a history book.
You lived it.
You lived it.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा.
The issue is, टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है.
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दें?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब.
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप.
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI. It does not lie.